We waiting on Young Guru. We back. Yeah, nah, man. 93.
Yeah.
I even have a video on my IG of Hove outside of the new music seminar destroying niggas. Literally destroying. And Clark is right behind them, acting out every punchline, hanging on every word. And Jay, I watch niggas with deals, like
Right.
superstars.
Right.
Look at the cipher, hear a couple bars, and was
Just
like,
leave.
yeah, nah, I don't want no problems.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
niggas, like some of the hottest niggas in the mid 90s
Yeah.
was going straight to the car service.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I don't want no problem with him.
Nah,
You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying?
It was that good. I recognized it when he people said why was Guru yelling. My fault. I was hype, y'all. Skills got me hype. I don't always have these conversations like that.
Right. I just hopped on my live and it just turned into this
Yeah, I'm
today.
sorry, but this is great. I knew about him or recognized his skill from the night that he went to Stretch and Bobito with Big
Right.
L,
With
right?
Big L.
That was a huge thing because I have a cousin. My cousin in Jersey, Brian, is like, you probably got somebody like this super underground hip hop head. When I was out doing whatever I'm doing, he's the guy that if you miss taping Stretching Bobito, he definitely was up
Yeah.
that night.
Right. That night he
Right.
had it.
So me listening to that with Big L was a thing. But then when Reasonable Doubt, and it wasn't just Dead Presidents because the single came out first, right? And I'm like, yo, this
Right.
is great. But you got to remember at this time, I'm Biggie'd out. Like there's no
Right.
other
Right.
way for me to think about anybody being bigger than Big. Like that didn't
Right. It
even
didn't
come into
compute. It didn't. It was
right.
hard to even acknowledge that he was the
That
king of New York.
he was the king. Big was the king of everything to me. You know what I'm saying? Like just everything of the way that Big constructed records. But it's when Jay hit the Ray for Edmond line, right? Where he was talking about on the news around 7 Jules had dead in the mic. Because for those of us that remember in DC when he was getting taken away, that was a big thing. It was national news. It was on television.
Right.
And the way they took them away. But for us that was touched by him personally, and then like for Jay to even know about that in New York, I was like, that was such a DC thing. I was like,
How did he even
how did
know?
he even know about him? You know what I'm saying? Like that was a weird thing for me. So those lines touched me, and then I started listening intensely to what he's saying, and I'm like, it's no way that this ain't real. The detail is too much. And
Right.
the way that he's talking about it with regret, because most people at that time was like bigging it up as if it was like, yeah, I'm the greatest in the world. You know, I got the shit to weigh the whales with. That was the, you know what I mean? That was the
Right.
sentiment
Right.
of the thing. And he's talking about it from this like this regret real standpoint. And I was just like, whoa. That's when I was like, oh, this dude is special. Like that first album. But I was trying to explain this to my son because he's looking at it backwards, you know what I mean? And I'm
Right.
like, yo, when that album first came out, it wasn't this
It wasn't.
celebrated,
Yeah.
like,
It
oh
wasn't
my
like
God,
nah.
this is the greatest
Nah.
thing
It wasn't.
ever. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like,
Mm.
oh, okay,
It
cool.
was like,
Like,
okay, homie got an album out.
yeah, like, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
But again, it's because we were so Biggie is the
Nas.
greatest, Nas is the greatest thing ever. You know what I mean? Sort of thing. Like, it was that thing. We were still drunk off of Nas and Big. I was still drunk
Right.
off of Nas and Big. But then
My thing is,
it became hard for me. Like I'll tell you an ill story. The very first day that I knew that, like, because we don't like a lot of yes man. Like, I don't like that yes man shit, right?
right.
I don't like to like laugh
Facts.
at the joke if you don't think it's funny and all that.
Right.
It wasn't really a conversation between me and Jay. It was a conversation between me and OG.
Right.
So Jay's in the room, but me and OG was like kind of arguing back and forth. Now imagine this, I'm in a Jay-Z session and OG is arguing that Jay is the best. And at that point, I'm arguing still that Big is the best. I'm spitting lines, you know what I'm saying? I'm going back and forth. And then I'm saying to niggas, I'm like, yo, y'all realize I'm only pulling from 2 albums. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm still arguing
Right.
for Big being the greatest at a time when I'm first working with Jay-Z. It was
Right.
until later that it was almost sacrilegious for me to
Right. To
say that
even
somebody
say
was
that.
better than Big. But eventually, I gotta put Jay in that position. And
Right.
not to say that Big wouldn't have flown. We can't say what would have happened if they was both here. We would have got the Commission album. You know what I'm saying? And in my opinion, as much as people think how dope they are, I think they would have been even better.
Yeah. No question. Now here's my take. Now, and I tell people this a lot, and I never told you. But what we haven't seen in a long time, and we haven't gotten in a long time, and I always thought he was when he was shooting on all cylinders, this is when he was at his top tier to me. When we used to get a mad Jay-Z, when he would get a little pissed off at the gall of niggas, oh my God.
Wow.
Like, nigga, when he was like, oh, word, like, oh, so niggas niggas had a little platinum single and saying my name, and niggas, they playing this on hot, and niggas thinking shit's funny, and then he would check niggas.
You seen niggas shoot your fat ass out of cans before.
Nigga, when I heard this.
Hold on, stop this for a second. Hold on.
Tell me about that.
So I'm gonna say two different things, and I know my brother Joe always hangs his hat on this. Like, first of all, I love Joe, but when I go on the Joe Budden podcast, this is the first thing we're gonna talk about. I don't feel like that song was at Joe at all.
Here's the thing, I never thought it was.
Right, but Joe has always said that, and I'm like, yo, I don't think that the shit was at Joe. What it was that Just Blaze made the beat, and for the very first time, Jay was doing a mixtape. Right. Give me that beat, fool. It's a 4-time jack. So that's Ice Cube.
Like, yeah,
right?
That's Ice Cube.
Give me that beat, fool. It's a 4-time jack move. Don't worry, Skane. No, I get. So Skane was an A&R, Def Jam. That's my man.
I know.
I'll get back soon. How to start? I always need the first word.
Just having a little fun.
That's the collection.
Black album coming soon.
Oh, I got it. Ain't nobody dumping no hove. You ain't in sanitation or sanitarium. What are you crazy to bury them? I get them drug out the club. They have to carry them. Go ahead, bug out. I raid niggas scurry. And worried I'm not the Mike Jordan or the mic recording. This Hovey, baby. You Kobe, maybe. Tracy McGrady. Matter of fact, you a Harold Miner, J.R. Ryder. Washed up on marijuana. Even worse, you a Purvis Ellis. You worthless fella. You ain't no athlete. You Sean Bradley. And I ain't talking to nobody in particular. My flow just vehicular homicide when I'm kicking up dust. Anybody in my path is a car crash waiting to happen. Nigga. What? I got my foot on the throat on the post of this rap game, and I ain't letting up. Yep. Who's the nicest life or lifeless on these mic devices? And I don't write this. I just mic this. I will it to happen.
I'm one take hold. I'm really this rapping.
My new name is Just the Facts. While the rest of y'all just adjust the facts. Y'all put words together just to match. I say what I feel and y'all adjust to that. I do the opposite of y'all, so I just attract the realer audience, usually unjust and black. Know my flow when the shit they go through just match like the sound of my voice and the choice just track. I just tackle the subject. The flat from the public is nothing, and I know real niggas happen to love it. And if you don't like it,
you ain't.
If you don't like it, then look in the mirror. Most likely you ain't live it, so you don't get it. You can't vision the picture I'm painting ain't vivid. The language I'm spitting is so foreign to you. See what starving to do to you, growing up hard in a little apartment to do to you. Well, I'm just talking to you. Or I'm just talking
through you. Nigga, wait, stop. Understand. When we used to get a mad Jay-Z, when that nigga was a little bit ticked off, it was some of the most immaculate bars ever because he effortlessly shut niggas down without even saying too much.
We only did that. We only did that mixtape because we had always been like, yo, Hov, you don't really do mixtapes or whatever. The only reason we did that mixtape was because of the S-Dots. So what happened was,
the sneakers.
We was putting out the sneakers, and we did a deal with Foot Locker that if you bought the sneaker, you got the
mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. That was a whole point.
Those are the only shoes I've ever bought from a rapper. I've never bought rapper shoes. I've never worn another rapper shoes. I got the green, I got the white and the greens that look like the Gucci's, and I got the tan ones only because I had a jacket to match it. Like nigga, I come from Virginia, nigga. I don't wear niggas shoes who do the same shit I do.
Right.
You don't see AI with no J's on.
I get it.
That's not what we do.
I get it.
That's the only sneakers I ever bought from a nigga, and I still wanted him to sign them.
I
Like,
get it.
but my thing was, Joe just wanted something to talk about. That shit was never about Joe. Joe just insert himself into shit that don't have nothing to do with him anyway. He's been doing that for years. So, but my thing is like those little nuances and that mixtape was so priceless because I knew how he felt and I loved it. I loved when he thought niggas was trying to get on his level on some rap shit. Like, I gotta remind y'all niggas, this is what I do.
Right.
Like when Jim tried to poke him and he hopped on ball and like those little times, those are some of the best Jay-Z bars in the history of Jay-Z bardom, nigga. Period.
Nah, I love it.
Period. I loved it.
That mixtape was super fun, man. Super fun. Cause we was purposely like jumping around. Like he did the If I Can't Do It, Homie, You Can Be Done. He did that one. He even jumped on the B2K track and was just like, Guru, let's try this one. Like, I mean, it's just like, yo, we was just having fun.
I love that he was so free in that time and just hopped on Flavor in your ear, and you know what I'm saying? Like nigga, the Red Laser, like just them joints, like he was crazy, man.
Those
like,
was fun times, yo. Doing that mixtape was fun because we never really did. We did a follow-up to it, but it wasn't really like an original. That was more Lenny and Just doing remixes and like pulling stuff.
Right.
You know? But that first one, that first S-Dot mixtape was a mixtape, like him going in the booth, spitting new rhymes, you know what I mean? And it was all to promote the sneaker, but it's just him. Like the dude is just that ill. Like
the fact that I just know he ain't gonna never get that mad again at nobody because he's so far ahead. You know what I'm saying? Well,
you get wherever his life is taking him.
Right.
I think that's the real thing. You get the honesty of even to the point where me and No ID have talked about this. The nigga will not lie on a record. He won't lie. You know what I'm saying? Which means that like he don't be making up a whole bunch of bullshit. Like,
right. It's, you know what I'm saying? Truth.
But it's all truth. It's all whereas Big will give you today's agenda. I got the suitcase up in the center.
Story.
Go to room 112. Tell them Blanco sent you. That ain't really happened. You know what I'm saying?
But it sounds good.
It's a great
story.
Tino-ish story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Jay don't lie on records, bro. He just don't. He won't. Like all of it is his truth. Like that's one of the greatest things about him. So when you say the anger, I'm like, yo, it just happened that what was going on at the given moment.
His life.
But I love that about him as an artist. It's like, yo, he gives me who you are, which allows us to grow up and go, okay, now the music can be done by a 50-year-old if I give you my truth. You know what I mean?
Right,
like if I give you,
exactly.
Like how vulnerable you got to be to make 444 from the beginning. From the beginning to make 444 is like, yo, you got to be in a like. I'm gonna get like I asked no ID on here. I literally looked at him and was just like, yo, that's where we going. Like,
right.
From somebody who's never been that open about their personal life, right? Then you get the Marcy Mees and stuff in there to be like, yo, don't forget I can still fucking rhyme. You know what I'm saying? But
exactly.
Like it's the openness of this is where I am in my given life that makes him like just like one of the great. It's the reason why I admire him so much, like because it's the truth of where he is.
Right. And that's a comfortable place to be in as an MC. You know what I'm saying? And I tell cats all the time when cats walk up to me, oh man, what should I do, Skillz? I'm trying to get in the game. I'm trying to da-da-da-da-da. I'd be like, nigga, be yourself. You know what I'm saying? First off, because what you don't want to do is put out a record that ain't you and that shit blow
up.
And then you got to get on stage
and fake that for the rest of your life.
For your rest of your life for a check. Like, you don't ever want to do that. That's why I never understood when artists be like, yo, those are just throwaways. I'm like, nigga, I ain't never put out a throwaway. Right. If I put out a record, it was meant to be heard. Like the shit that you don't hear was not finished or wasn't good, and I never wanted you to hear it. I never just threw something out for the fuck of it. If I put it out, I wanted that shit to pop. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we just threw that out there. Nah, nigga, don't just throw nothing out there.
Yeah, we got a million of those that, you know what I mean? Like people, I don't think people realize how much editing goes on and how much self-critique goes. I don't think people critique themselves enough or honest enough with themselves, or got a circle of people that are honest where it's like, if I'm telling you the song ain't good, it's not because I don't think you're talented or whatever. It's just because I don't think that's the best representation at the given time.
Of you.
At the given time. That's it.
Right.
And you got to be honest enough with yourself to be like, yo, I'm going to accept that critique and I'm going to just try to make something better. If you really good at what you do, you can just make something else. It's plenty of times I'm making a beat, doing whatever, and I'm like, that ain't it. Turn it off. Like, just
Right. Keep it
start
moving.
over. Because I know
Keep
what
it
I'm
moving.
doing. Yeah, I may
Right.
not have been in the right vibe or whatever, but that's a part that I think people don't see, because I said this the other day where I was like, they be trying to make it into some like mystical, like Jay-Z's the, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, he's just magic. And I'm like, no, bro, this is a lot of hard work.
Right.
It's a lot of hard work.
The thing
It's a
about
lot
it
of
is
self-critique. It's a lot of
right. And the
self-critique.
thing about it is a lot of people don't have that. Niggas will go into the booth and just say some shit and then walk out like, yeah, nigga, I did that shit in one take, whoop-de-whoop. I'm like, yeah, nigga, it sound like you did it.
Right.
It sound like you ain't put no thought into it. It
Right.
sound like some shit you just said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to be smart enough to know when it ain't it. And I tell songwriters all the time, bro, like, everybody got bad songs in them. You just got to get them out the way to get to the good ones.
Or it's just
You know
like working out. It's like you practicing on your craft every day, and the magic not gonna come every day.
Every day,
no. And sometimes it comes really fast and really, you know what I mean, really sharp like streaks. But you work out every single day. You continue to try to push your pen. You continue to try to lift those weights. You continue to try to get better. But what comments say you need to do more deleting and less saving. Like
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to do more deleting and less saving. Like, you just gotta know when it ain't it and be honest with yourself. Like,
be honest with yourself.
Or the test is, sometimes you really do be in a vibe, right? Like, sometimes you're in a studio or you're in a creative space and you really do be in a vibe. Go to sleep and wake up and then listen to it again in the morning and see if you're still in that same vibe.
What we used to call them 4 o'clock songs. Like, the shit sound dope at 4 a.m. It still got to sound dope at 4 p.m.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We used to call them 4. I don't know what that was our slang. We like, is it hot? Like, I don't know. It's a 4 o'clock song. I'm gonna check it later. Like, that means we was gonna listen to it again later on in that day. You know what I'm saying? And if it still give you that feeling, if it still give you that vibe, then you might be on to something. Like, and I learned that from Will. They call it rewrites. Like, I would take the 16 and take out any of the suspect lines. Like, bar 2 was suspect, bar 7 was suspect, bar 12 was suspect. How can I make those better? You know what I'm saying? And come up with something that is a good representation of where I am at the time in my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's real, man.
Because it's always gonna be on your name. That's the thing. Like, when you put something out, it's always on your name from now until infinity, and especially now with the way that artists are coming up, because we at least had a chance to be like, yo, this was my demo music, and a lot of people probably never heard the demo music, right? But artists nowadays, they demos is the stuff they uploading online, and we get to watch them from the very first time that they ever cracked the microphone to you know what I mean, to mixtape number 1, they growing. We watching these 16-year-olds grow. This is mixtape number 1, mixtape number 2, mixtape number 3. Then I'm ready for 4 albums. Imagine if everybody heard everything before your first album.
Right. You be done. You be done out here. It'd be insane, man.
So it's even more important now to be like, am I saying exactly what I want to say? Am I self-critiquing myself? Is this the best I can do? Because I don't know if people really do that. Because I be hearing a lot of stuff where I'm just like, yo, like you said, like, you in there bragging about you did it in one take, and I'm like, people don't. That's just a side stat. People don't really care how long it took Michael Jackson to make Thriller.
Right.
It's just a great record.
Right. We don't talk about, oh, he did this and whoop-de-whoop. Like, no, it's a great record, period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's us. Like, we study music like that, to where I'm like, okay, if Mike coming from being with the Jackson 5 and I'm a child star, and then I'm moving over to Quincy Jones, and not only is it Quincy Jones, it's Rod Temperton, it's, you know what I mean, everybody that was involved in the writing, the recording, everything of the album. Then, as big as Off the Wall was, right, we get to a even bigger album in Thriller because we're self-critiquing. Have you ever heard Starlite?
No.
Oh man, I got my you know what? I got my what's the name computer up, and I got, you know what? We on live. Fuck it. Let's just keep talking. I'm gonna pull out this drop. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play you this song called Starlight, and some people may have heard it, and some people may not have heard it, right? But it's the show.
Who's it by?
It's by Michael Jackson. And what it is the original Thriller. So there's a song called Starlight where Michael Jackson's coming and he's going Starlight, Starlight, da, da, and Quincy Jones had the nerve to it strings on it and everything, right? On the original Thriller beat. And Quincy Jones came in and was like, Mike, that ain't it.
Right.
That ain't it,
Mike,
man.
that ain't it.
That ain't it. And it could be, it's a great song, but it's just like, yo, like that ain't it. And because he said that ain't it, we get Thriller.
Right. Starlight, Michael Jackson?
Look up Starlight, Michael Jackson. It may be online, so I don't gotta hook up this drive. See which one of us can get it. Play that joint. Play it.
Oh, and the ad playing. Let me mute that for the ads.
It's all we on live, but it's whatever.
Oh.
And Cracker Barrel cheese.
Come on now.
Nah, let that we getting to my point, but go ahead.
Your cheese.
Here we go.
Exact same beat. Now listen to what they took out.
Okay.
They took strings out.
I hear the top coming.
I'm surprised you never heard this.
But the melody there. Because you know I'm a melody nigga. The melody there. Let's hit this hook.
Yes. Yes.
This won't it.
See what I'm saying?
This wasn't it.
But imagine the whole scenario. The music is there. We know the music is popping, right? But it's a different mix. You hear a little bit of different synths. They had some strings in there.
Right.
And Quincy Jones had to be the person to say to Michael Jackson in the middle of all the heat that they
this ain't it.
That ain't it, Mike.
And I'm so glad he did.
Write another one. Rod Temperton, write another one. That ain't it. So then they write Thriller. They take them strings out. They take a couple of them synths out, mix it again. That's what I'm talking about. We wouldn't have got Thriller if everybody was just yes man. It was like, yeah, Starlight is it. It ain't like it's a bad song, but it ain't Thriller.
But it ain't Thriller. Because Thriller turned into a whole thing in itself. Wow. I gotta add that to my joints. Like I gotta add that to my Michael Prince parties. Like,
oh, it's crazy. That's why I'm surprised you never heard that one. That one, yeah.
Nigga, I be playing the Pepsi commercial and all that shit at my parties. Like, nigga. I live play that at the party, like it's a record.
It hurts. That whole Pepsi commercial hurts me.
Starlight just hurt me, bro.
Because that's where he got burnt up at it, the Pepsi commercial. And I was just like, nah, I can't. But my point was, back to that Starlight thing of the overall point of what we were saying about yes men and like, is the song the best that it could be? You know what I mean? And even though you're amongst greatness, it's like even that great person can be greater.
Hey, so somebody just posed a question and they said, have you ever said that to Hov? Have you ever been like, that ain't it?
Of course.
Dope. That's dope.
Ask No ID. If No ID still don't ask him how many times we get into arguments in the studio.
Right, like that ain't it.
But it's not about, it's not about is it ain't it necessarily, right? And let me be clear. Because a lot of times Jay says the rap is always going to be good. It's more about, are we going in the right direction for the given time? Right. That's what the question is. Right. Starlight. Damn, nigga. I never heard that in my life. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. That's one of my greatest examples of like when the producer really know like we could do better. You gotta listen. You need, like somebody said, you need them arguments though, because I know that everybody in this room wants, we all here for the same reason. That's to come up with an amazing record. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we patting ourselves behind like
we do it like old Death Row days. Like nigga, if you come in here this week, every rap, every hook, every beat is going for Snoop shit.
Yeah.
Don't come in here this week
Yeah.
if you not here for Snoop shit.
Right.
Like nigga, this okay, with Snoop shit done, every song, every hook this week is for Dog Pound.
Every
Like,
sample you
period.
dig for, every idea
Everything.
you come up with, every hook, yeah, everything.
And that's when you come up with some of the most amazing songs, man.
That's how we used to, that thing of like everybody being in the same room, having a place to go. That's what made Baseline so special. It was just like that one place where everybody knew to go, and you knew that Goo was going to be there 24 hours a day. That was my home. It was where I was at all the time. Like, I very rarely during that period went out in New York City, even though I was like in the middle of the spot, because it's that Drake line where he's like, while y'all out partying, I'm here busy making all the music that y'all
partying too, right?
Yeah, like that was my take on it. But it was just like having that facility of going and feeling the vibe as an artist at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know what I'm saying? And you at Greenhouse or whatever. And then because you caught a vibe, you know Goo's on 26 between 6 and 7. You can come down there and start just laying down whatever you want.
Right.
That was the thing. Or being able to be in touch with the people. If I went out, I was involved with the project. That's really all it was. Or somebody's birthday or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wasn't really just like, I'm trying to go out and go clubbing. That was maybe once a month so I could make sure I keep the vibe of what's going on in New York.
And here. You know
but I wasn't
what they rocking to.
You know them people that was every Friday, Saturday in Greenhouse. Yeah, you know them people that was every Friday, Saturday,
every weekend, done.
In every major
done
club
out
in New
here.
York City, right? That wasn't it. It was just about making a place for all the artists to come and then know that, like, I'm watching your whole career. So I'm trying to make you the best you. And then having the ability to I don't think people understand how special it is. If you could walk into Baseline and you got beats from Bink, Kanye, and Just, and then everybody else in New York City.
Right.
The Bink, Kanye, and Just beats is already on deck. Hop got a CD book with all those beats already in it.
Right, done. You done.
But then we used to have to Keep It Real Wednesdays because we was opening that up to the rest of the people, where it was just like, yo, somebody might be dope and just walking off the street. So Keep It Real Wednesdays was like, yo, you could walk in here as an unknown producer off the street, play your beats in the CD player. But if you whack, we're going to laugh you the fuck out of here. Right? If you good, you're going to get a t-shirt that say, I survived Keep It Real Wednesdays. And if you have something special, you just made $10,000 to $20,000 because we walking down the hallway and we about to record to that beat.
Right.
That's what Keep It Real Wednesdays was about.
So somebody asked, and this is a good question too, what Jay-Z song went through the most revisions before we actually heard it? What song had to get touched over and over and over again before it made it to the public?
I would have to think about that. I don't know if I could say one off the top of my head. What I will say is that there have been times when I'm like, nigga, the verse is immaculate. And he's just like, nope, it's not good enough. And he just keeps going and going and going. And I'm like, yo, what you just put down is incredible. And he just be like, nah. Like, he pushes himself to be the best that he could be at all times. Even when I think it's like, this is immaculate.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would have to think about what went through the most revisions. Or that's a great question. I got to think about it. Maybe I'll put that one on Twitter later. I have to think about that one. I don't know off the top of my head, because a lot of it is like the revision is going on while he's mumbling to himself.
Right. It's happening. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's another thing that people don't get, is that the reason that people go, oh, he could do it in one take or whatever, is because he's written the song already. The time is done writing the song. When you step in the booth, it's literally just to record the song. You see what I'm saying? The thought process of what is going into this happens before we step into the booth. We're not wasting time with the person in the booth trying to like make
right. We've already done that part.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. It would be, you have to ask him that. I can't. And that's another thing people try to get me to do, is like speak for the mind of Jay-Z. I can't speak for his mind. I can only speak from my experience of, that's like we watching the Michael Jordan joint right now, right?
Right.
And you look at Michael Jordan's trainer. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan was still gonna be Michael Jordan, regardless of who's training him. But if you lucky enough to be that guy, then guess what? You become the guy who trains, you know what I mean? The next
guy.
generation. Like Kobe sought out Michael Jordan's trainer.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, but Michael Jordan is still going to be Michael Jordan. So I don't want people to ever think like I can speak for the mind of Jay-Z. I can't do that. Like, all I can do is speak for my mind and like what I added to it and my arguments and like being in the room. That's the only thing I can speak on. Like, I speak on the music.
Right.
And I'll defend it and argue with it. Or like, you know, today I was having fun with a couple of my homies on Twitter. We was talking about Jay, you know what I mean, certain songs or whatever.
Right.
Like I just talk about the music and defend the music because of I'm proud of the legacy of the music that we Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Nah, man, you have to be, man. Like y'all did some amazing things, man. Like y'all have some y'all really got the soundtrack to a lot of people's lives. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm sitting there in amazement, just like everybody else. It's just that I get to hear it first. And the same way that when you hear it, you're like, oh my God. When he's spitting it, I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? That same thing. But I'm trying to reinforce the fact of I'm doing my art because of this person's art. So if he's sonically giving me the best clay to work with, then the mix, if you mix the shit out of if you mix the fuck out of a wax song, nobody's going to care.
Right. It's
it
still
could be
a
the
wax
greatest
song.
mix in the world. It's a wax
still
song.
a wax song.
Care? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you got to have the right thing to be able to mix first. But it's like, yes, the mix has to do with it. But I had Illmatic on a 5-time dub down cassette copy.
Yeah, me too.
And it was Illmatic.
Me too. And it was Illmatic.
You know what I'm saying?
It was nothing that was going to change that. And the crazy part about it is, like, I still feel as though that era, the last great era of New York for me was when y'all had what y'all had. You know what I'm saying? It was the Rockefeller era. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it's because of the fact that we can't have the subsidiaries the way we used to, and that's the only problem. Is just like, you gotta have those things of like, look at who brought that back, right? When Def Jam was struggling, when around the time when the West was just kicking ass, right?
Killing.
Remember, Def Jam signed Boss. They was trying to get on some West Coast vibe. Like, it was the West Coast was just
Domino, Warren G,
all of that. Right?
Warren G basically saved Def Jam at some point.
And what brought it back to the East, and you got to give a lot of credit to Irv, you know what I'm saying, as for what he did.
Yeah.
But what brought it back to the East was individual crews. So what saved Def Jam in particular was Murder Inc., Rough Riders, and Rockefeller. All crews.
Dipset and Dipset falls under that.
And then Dipset coming through, you know what I'm saying, doing the things that they did with us. And then it's just like, but those crews have to be there for that. As ill as Dipset is, I would beg somebody to find albums that's as good as that Cameron album that he put out and the Diplomatic Immunity, the double album.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Because Cam came with certain songs, but then you get an Oh Boy, you get a Welcome to New York City, you get a Hey Ma, you get a, you know what I'm saying? Like, Cam came with those with certain songs, and then we added on. That's the whole thing. It's like the crew can add on. And when Dipset came in the baseline, they was not playing.
Wow,
when they found out, it was like, yo, this is 24 hours a day, and we can just come in here anytime we want and record. Yo, that's when you get all them, like, people remember the albums, but they don't remember them K-Slay nights in New York where every night there was a new Dipset record. Every night.
Right.
We were doing them joints every single day. Or like, say Cam go off and do you know, whatever he's doing in terms of he got to go to come down there with y'all and do the basketball joints and all. You know what I mean? Like, he's going out and just doing whatever. Jim would still be in the studio by himself. Like, nobody was really thinking about Jim as an MC at that point.
Right, but he was honing his craft.
Doing a bunch of Goo, you here, I'm here. They work hard as fuck. Like, and you can't take that away from them. So, like,
I just feel like I was like, damn, like, when I look back at the last era that New York had where it mattered to somebody like me, you know what I'm saying? It was that era. Like, New York ain't been that high. And you know, we could agree. Some people would say otherwise, but I just feel like knowing what it was and how we had to hop in the car and ride up to New York and for the seminars and you know what I'm saying to drop your tape off or stand outside aloud and hope you see Steve Rifkin or somebody like
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
I'm
Like
gonna
it
tell you.
ain't
I'm gonna
been
tell you.
like
Here's my
that since
theory, and
then.
I'm glad you brought this up, Skillz, and see if you agree with me. Because as in my older years, I've grown to ask questions instead of just stating my shit like it's the definitive thing, right? So I'm asking a question. Here's my reasoning for why that happened. Number one is the places that you will go in New York don't exist no more. We ain't got a
Okay.
tunnel. We ain't got a tunnel no more, right?
Right.
When you go into the club nowadays, it's bottle service. It's a bunch of niggas standing around. They holding
Right.
their drinks in their bottles. They girls is holding the drinks in their bottles, and everybody's in there looking at each other like who got the most drinks and bottles.
Right.
Instead of the party, you know what I mean? Like nobody. When I was coming up in going out on a New York scene, nobody cared about how many. Nobody could look at your table and see how many bottles you had.
Right.
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 That was number one. Number two is that the younger generation of who would become the A&Rs and the people that connect, we lost a couple of them. One of the biggest things that we lost when we lost Yams was the next Irv Gotti. Like Yams was a huge loss to the city. He was a huge loss because he was the one that was going to connect the ASAP Rockies, the Joey Badasses, the like he was going
Right.
to
The
connect.
glue.
He was the same way Irv is Murder Inc., but he was the glue between Rockefeller and Rough Riders.
Right.
Yams was that for the younger generation. Like
Wow.
from the amount of time that he asked me to work on ASAP Rocky stuff, like Rocky's an artist. He's out being an artist. He's doing what he's doing. There's not a ASAP Rocky or any type of session that I did with that crew that Yams wasn't in the studio. He was the one driving the machine.
Right.
He was the one checking on the mixes. He was the one like, "Goo, take this verse and put this here," and da-da-da-da. It's pictures of us all together. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But Yams was also the one that could like deal with people that was from every single portion, every borough, you need those people.
Right. I agree there. You know what I mean? And it was always, even though it was always competitive, you know what I'm saying? Like New York was always a competitive place. You always felt like when you was there, you had to be on your A game no matter what you did.
Right.
I don't care what you did. But, you know, after y'all, it might have been 50 in the GUnit era, and that was probably it. You know what I'm saying? Like then it,
right.
you know, it went on where it went to. But, you know, those were some special days, man, some special times. You know what I'm saying? And it came
special.
out in the music. And we got some real classic shit that we still hear to this day that still ring off all over the world.
And all the crews fuck with each other.
Right.
So it was like, that's how you get a Reservoir Dogs. That's how you get a, you know, we could go down the line of 24 Hours to Live and, you know, just posse cuts of what, you know, this one from this crew is getting on with this crew, and like DMX is doing song with the Locks and Mace, and you know, like we will all do songs together. That was the real thing about the unity is what made them songs special.
Right. And everybody was trying to outbar everybody else, but everybody was nice.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I love the fact that all of them niggas was nice. Like when I think I just saw maybe a couple months ago when Styles said the story about how Reservoir Dogs happened. Like, yeah, like nah, nigga, we was kind of ticked off. Like we was coming at niggas, like, you know what I'm saying, in a competitive way. Like, and I was just like, woo.
Because
but Jay still walked all over niggas.
But to me, that's the Warlocks and not the Locks. At that moment, I'm still thinking of mixtape Warlocks days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's not surprising to me when like okay, Styles has always been my favorite, and no disrespect to, you know what I'm saying, Jada or to Sheik.
Jada always been mine.
Yeah, and I get it where Jada's like the face of it, and it's like, yo, Jada's flow got bit up by everybody on 106 and Park and all the freestyle MCs of that era, right? But when Styles hit the like, learned my first lesson in jail from a peasant, always seemed pleasant, happy to be present, said he passed through, we should have been in the essence. Streets is the girl, treat her like your wife. You can flirt around with drugs, but death ain't right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can flirt, when you say flirt around with drugs, but life ain't right. Hold your breath, next step, because life ain't right. If you with the wrong cats, then your cipher ain't tight. Styles hit the dark side, show them the light. Co-defendant to the ice that freezes MCs. Friend of the game, friend of the flame, burn them in one game. And I tell Oxygen to not hop in them. But they little time niggas. I ain't thinking of stopping them. Catch up first. We stretched up worse than them. Been experts and did less work than them. With no album, we networked more than them. These cats didn't think that the locks could do it. I got 100 different styles that'll guide you through it. I'm the ghost of the shit. I provide the fluid that'll crack sidewalks and ride the sewers. You got some fly shit, but my shit is like the whole city falling out the sky, bitch. Loud crash. I'm the quiet loud ass. Quick to start it off with your fucking foul ass. Make 6 digits 8 and cop a pile ass. Oh my God, style is it for me.
Nigga, one of my favorite joints. Remember this shit right here? Oh, I'm gonna play this. I still have this on my DJ laptop. Don't even ask me why. Nigga.
Oh, your sales is cut.
Nigga.
Know how to stress blow. They respect the flow. Help them make a decimal. Shoot for set you free, but what a lie do? But I be getting high too.
Cause when the money gone, they gonna slide too.
The fall of rise. Cause I can smell hell.
Man, I was pussy. Unless you got a gun and I ain't got one, I might let you push me. Nigga!
Yo.
Nigga!
The craziest part, Skillz, the craziest part. So we in school at Howard, right? So freshman year, I lived in the dorm because it was required for you to live in the dorm.
Right.
Sophomore year, I lived with like my day one Howard dudes, right?
Right.
Junior year, I lived with Amiri Baraka's son. So Mitty, who was part of One Step Beyond, who is now chief of staff of North, right? That was my junior year roommate, right? His brother is the mayor of North, Raz Baraka, right? For those who don't know Raz Baraka is the voice talking on the Fuji album on the skits in between, right?
Got you.
So then, my senior year, I'm living with my homeboy Case, right? So this is the in-between time. So it's, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it. I was doing, and don't ever think I'm saying I was a kingpin or some bullshit like that. I was hustling to pay my bills and do little bullshit, right?
Right.
So I'm hustling out of this house that me and my man is living in, and Mark pulls up with the big boy and drops off the Locks album to us. As we listening to the Locks album, I'm saying to Mark, like, yo, can you move your car off my block? Because you're making it real hot. Making it real hot.
Right.
We work out of this spot, fam. Like, but he dropped off the Locks album to us early. Like, Mark and them used to do that for us because they was always out like connect. You know what I mean?
Connect,
like,
right.
Not only connect, but like brothers that's your age, but that take care of you. You know what I mean? So it was that Howard thing of like Mark and Wayne managing big, but then having that connection, you know what I mean? And funneling like our music to Puff and like eventually Mark signed Trey to buy Storm. You know what I'm saying? So that it showed you where the connect was. But like, I just remember those Locks times, man. It was just so, because he know how much of a fiend I am for Styles P lyrics.
Right.
So it was just like them bringing us music before the world heard it. They just, you know, they the managers riding around with it. You know
right. They got it early, mastered and all that. Like
them days was incredible.
It was like it was like the nucleus of what New York was. You know what I'm saying? What was a special thing, man. And we always looked up to, you know, everybody up there. You know what I'm saying? Like because it was like that shit was cool. You know what I mean? Like from going to Clark's house. You know what I'm saying? Early on.
Skillz. Think about this. I'm in Howard, right? And in the middle of us trying to do music and get on or whatever, Puff Star Bad Boy, right? And they had the first office. Remember the one with the feet? You know what I mean? They had the bottom of the booth on the floor and all that. So imagine as a kid, I'm probably at this point, what is this? This is 95, so I'm 21. Imagine me going to an office seeing people I know smoke blunts in their office.
Right, chilling.
I'm just like, yo, like, you're in a corporate office smoking an L. This
right.
is, I gotta do this. I gotta come here and do it. There's no way I could go work in a cubicle at corporate America after seeing this.
Seeing it, right. How am I supposed to go back?
They not wearing ties and shirts. They wearing a Nietzsche, FUBU, and like whatever else was popping at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like in a corporate office. You understand how mind-blowing that is for somebody of my age.
Right.
It's insane. I've never seen that. This is before Casual Fridays. This is before like
right. They was doing this every day.
Every day, but they running a business. Like Clive had just gave Homeboy $30 million.
Right.
And these are people I know. These people I know.
I know these niggas.
So it's more than the music. It's the thing of like, yo, I want to be able to go to work and wear my sweatshirt. You know what I'm saying?
How I do.
What?
Yeah.
And everybody that works in here is black.
Right. Like I remember one time, and it was just me being from Virginia and just, you know, going back and forth to New York. I remember one time I think I was on Raucous at the time, and I was at the My Life video shoot.
Right.
The song with Pharoah Monch, I want to say it was Pharoah Monch and Chic or Styles. It was Styles and Pharoah Monch on the hook.
I'm trying to remember the name, but what's crazy is I remember the cover because it was an art-driven cover.
My Life. It was Styles P featuring Pharoah Monch. So we had the video, everybody in there, MOP in there, Smith and Wesson, and K Slay outside, right?
Right.
And this when the drama hour was popping on Sunday nights or whatever. So I see K Slay, and I'm with this dude named Howie McDuffie, a real crazy street nigga that used to be up at Raucous all the time.
I remember, son. Yeah.
Yeah, so I walk up to K Slay, and it's him, Graf, and Papoose. And I said, yo, K Slay, like, he was like, what up? I was like, yo, what a nigga got to do to get on the drama hour? Like, holla at a nigga. And he said, I never forget it because I felt disrespected like a motherfucker. He said, you got to be nice. And he said it in front of niggas, right? So I'm looking at this nigga like, I said, you trying to say I ain't nice? So then it kicked back in. That he clicked that button. I said, yo, man, I serve any of these niggas right now. Like, so Howie like, yo, chill. I'm gonna bring him up. I'm gonna bring him up with Most and Monch. Cause you know Raucous was kind of bubbling at the time. They were saying it might be the new Def Jam or some shit.
Yeah.
So I knew the only reason I got to Hot 97 was because of who I was with. But I was like, nigga, I'm going to murder this shit. Like, because I already had a chip on my shoulder. So he asked me what beat I want to rhyme over. I said 50 Cent in the club. It was 02. And in the club was everything at the time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I spit that verse. I think I spit the verse while I was sick. I was sick before Big Daddy Kane. I was sick when Questlove didn't have, you know what I mean? Like, all this shit. And I remember him saying, like, at the end of it, I think it's still on YouTube. If you look at it, if you listen to it, at the end of it, he says, K Slay says, yo, that he said something to the engineer, I guess. He was like, yo, whatever his name was, he called his name. He's like, yo, that might be the illest freestyle any nigga ever spit up here. Like, and I got up and walked out. Like nigga, like, I'm going to show you what we do. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, coming from here, we always had a chip on our shoulder. Niggas ain't never give us no love. But I just couldn't believe that the nigga just in front of everybody, like, oh, you got to be nice. I'm like, nigga, what? Like, I only did K Slay one fucking time. And that shit's still on YouTube. Like, but just to hear him say that at the end.
Word, like, you only did Slay one time?
I only did Slay once. I only did Slay one time. And I made sure. But I was the type of MC, like, if I was leaving it, if I was coming to the studio and say Beanie Siegel was leaving, Beanie Siegel did like 2 drops for the main DJs and he was out.
Right.
I had to do 5 drops and 3 freestyles just to get my shit, you know what I mean? Like, Skillz, you can do an intro for my 5 o'clock mix? Oh, damn, that's dope. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we always had to jump out, but I'll never forget that moment. Like, but K Slay put me in a he almost pressed me, but I'm glad he pressed me. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it turned into something legendary. Like, even with Stretch and Bobbito, like, they had told me, like, yo, if you come up here, you gotta bring Q-Tip. I'm like, nigga, what?
Yeah,
Because
I
this
get it.
when Tip was, people were just starting to find out Tip was doing all these fucking beats.
Beats,
The,
right, right,
the
right.
Illmatic was out.
Mhm.
The Whispers was there. He helped Mobb Deep with their shit. He
Yeah,
was on the Mobb Deep shit.
he
The
don't get enough
world,
credit. He don't get enough credit for the Infamous. Yeah, he
the
don't get
world,
enough
the
credit.
world is yours remix was
Yeah,
fucking phenomenal.
right.
So Tip tells me, like, yo, when we get up here, they gonna try to make me rhyme. I'm gonna do
Right.
a quick 8, and I'm gonna spit it to you
Yeah,
and say that shit you said.
of
And I'm
course.
like, all right. And then the Stretch and Barbito freestyle happened.
Well, I mean, the pressure is what make the diamond. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
facts.
trying to like showcase what you are makes the diamond. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's the
man.
biggest pressure to me is a beautiful thing because it makes you perk up and be like, yo, I want to be who I am. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the real thing. I don't think I played basketball like that. Like my father used to get on me because it was like if we was playing a whack team, I wouldn't really perform. I'd just be like, whatever. But if I'm
Right.
playing the team against my homies from the hood that we play in the park every week, and now it's time to go
Right.
against them, I'm gonna show out. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that
Right.
sort of thing.
You would cut it
Pressure
on
makes,
sometimes.
yeah. And I had to learn how to like consistently turn it on even when there's no pressure.
Right.
You know it's a bugged out thing? Watching Beyonce taught me that of how to act in the show.
Really?
Like, you know, I'm dead ass serious. I'm dead ass because I will go up in the show and I'm just like performing, but I'm not really recognizing how much I'm supposed to be acting while I'm in a show. So if you're on tour and you're doing the same show over and over and over again, by the time you get to the 5th show, you're like, I could do this with my eyes closed.
Right. Easy.
But you gotta still bow down and recognize the fact of people spent months and months and months planning to come to this Jay-Z show, right?
Right.
They bought an outfit that week. They went and got their hair done. They went and
it's a big deal.
The dude paid for his girl and his haircut, and he paid for a babysitter, and you probably bought 2 outfits.
Right.
So for me to be lazy in the show is not really giving them what they paid for. And I had to watch B because B is like, she know how to turn it on. And this is me as a fan, just watching her as a performer, right? Where I'll get to watch like what she's doing. So I'm like, I need to step my shit up.
Right.
In terms of
I
what
love being around people like that. I love that.
What I'm doing on stage, I gotta be engaged. It's the difference between a dude that like DJing and just looking at the turntables and like DJing and interacting with the crowd.
Right. Right. Exactly.
He could be playing the same records in the same exact way. But it's almost like the thing that makes Rock Raider is that he was like looking at the crowd as he's doing everything and throwing his middle finger up and like interacting with people. His technical skill could still be the same, but it's the way he's presenting it.
Right.
It made me look at myself and be like, yo, I'm not just in this show just to play records and push buttons. I'm in here to perform with homie. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, that made it's always me critiquing myself. Or like when we went on the Run 2, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, yo, watching her and the way that she's such a stickler and like is over every single thing from not only just the outfits to the goddamn way the lights hit the hat. And
right, because it all matters. It matters.
Yo, it all matters. So I'm like, yo, my little part, I gotta at least do my part.
You gotta kill it.
To the best. Yeah, like if they can worry about all that, let me worry about my part and make it look good and sound good. And like it taught me about like when you're on stage, you are in essence, you're performing, you're in a show, you're acting. Even if you don't feel like it that day, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
you still gotta give people a good show. And it came from me watching her, where I'm just like, yo, like I gotta step my shit up.
Well, let me ask you a question, because me being a rapper and me being an MC, I'm a '90s rapper, so I paid so much attention to Jay-Z and his rise and how, you know, his career. And if anybody ever asked me, like, oh, who would you trade careers with? I'd be like, nigga, Hov, like, no question.
Right.
So as far as recording, because we know how Jay do. Jay, he don't write, he mumble, he come up with the best shit and he go in and cut it down. Are there any similarities between him and B when it comes to recording? Because you recorded them both.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, first of all credit to Stu, right? Stu is B's engineer, right?
Got you.
So I've recorded B on things that are like, it's either a whole record she's featured on, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just in the studio, whatever.
Right.
But to me, there is a difference because it's R&B and hip hop. It's two totally different things, right? But what I will say is that both of them are concerned about being at a very high level. So that's the complete thing. Is what you got to think about. It's like, I'm not just making music to make music. It's at a certain level.
Right.
So that's all I think about when I'm making music is like, where does this fit in to the pantheon of like all black music?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not just thinking about hip hop. Like, I'm doing, this is me and you on live, and this ain't no made up shit. And I ain't, you know what I mean? Just doing whatever. Like, I'm gonna pull a couple books, right? And this is gonna show you how I think. Boom. These shit's heavy as hell. But let me pull them over here. But when I'm thinking about the history of all of us in terms of black music, just period, right? So this is like one of my favorite books. It's called The History of Jazz.
Okay.
Right? I got this at Adrian Young's studio. It's one of my best joints, right?
Right.
I'm thinking about myself in terms of the difference between bebop and who we are as hip hop and the similarities, right? Of how similar we are with a generation that was before us, right? Of bebop changing, swing, and like going into something that was completely different. That's what hip hop did with the music. But I'm also like, I got this in mind, right? I'm reading Stokely Carmichael and like revolutionary shit and how that affects us, right? And then I'm going into the mind of Thelonious Monk, and I'm just like, yo, how that affects us. And I know about these dudes. And then I'm reading Mitty's dad. You know what I'm saying? This is my college roommate's father writing a book.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Even to the point where I've said this to Mid a bunch of times where I'm like, I fucked up because Amiri Baraka as a person and as my OG, I was always asking him revolutionary questions.
Right.
Like, how did it feel? How did it feel to be in the North riots? How did it feel to be labeled as a communist? How did it feel to get fired from, you know what I'm saying, this place because of the way? And I never had the jazz conversation with him ever in my life.
Oh God.
Ever.
How you dropped that ball, Guru?
And I was like, yo, I hated it because it was like, you got to remember, not only is he my friend's father, but where I live in North, right? I was living on 10th and Clinton, right? I was living right there. So I lived on Narren Place for anybody that's from North. Narren is in between 10th and 11th, right off Clinton Avenue, right?
Right.
They lived on 11th and Clinton, which is not even a whole block. It's just like a half a block. So I would see him walking to the store. I would see him whatever. And I was always talking about revolutionary shit.
Right.
Because that's what, you know what I mean? My mind be on. So then when he passed away, I was like, I'm going to make it a point to read everything that he's ever done. And I discovered this whole world of jazz that I didn't know that he wrote it down beat. I didn't know that this is just me walking into my friend's house and I see his mother and his father with pictures of John Coltrane like it's normal.
Right, just up, right, like nothing.
Like it's normal, but I never had them. I'm saying all that to say and show these like, and this is another one, right? If nobody has ever heard of this is this group called Def. And I know the name sounds weird, but you got to really get into the story, right? This is a
Rock
group
and roll
called Def.
victims.
Now,
Def,
what that is the fact that black people create every form of music in this country from the beginning, period.
Facts.
So it's a group, it's three brothers from Detroit that created punk rock a year before CBGB's even existed.
Right.
They doing that
What
in
up, DJ Iron?
They doing that in 1973, and the Ramones didn't come out until 1974.
Right. You got to do the knowledge on that, yeah.
You got to do the knowledge on this. The DVD is called a band called Def. It's one of the best DVDs I ever seen. Now, I'm saying all that skills to say that when I'm creating music, I'm putting our rap music in the same lineage as that.
Right.
All the things I just showed you.
Got to. Oh, listen, the timer just popped up. Listen, we got to finish this. But I got somewhere to be in like 30 minutes. But
My
listen,
brother.
man, I'm going to text you, man.
Sir.
Listen, we got to, yeah. We're going to do this again for y'all, for sure.
This was all off the cuff. This was off the cuff.
Next time we're going to plan it. Guru, I love you, bro.
I love you to death, man. I love you to death. I can't wait till we can get back outside and I can see you, my brother. Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm going to text you.
Love you.
My G, love, bro.
One.